In this video, I wanted to discuss my personal experience with photography in a way that might be inspiring, especially to those in any field that have the tools but don't know where to start or what they want to convey. There are all kinds of photography, but I personally don't find myself fitting into any of these. And you don't have to. That's okay. I could discuss how to set up your camera with exposure and aperture, shutter speed, and ISO light sensitivity. We could go over basic design elements to consider in your subject matter. Or how an image's composition can make it more visually interesting and consumable, using mathematical ideas like golden proportions. But all of that is very complicated, and you can worry about it later in editing. I very first started using digital media with artistic intent when I was 6 years old. My family had a chunky CRT monitor running Windows XP, and I played kids' pics and scribbled around on Microsoft Paint to create eye-searing pixelated atrocities. Technology advanced rapidly during the 2000s. Things held more data, needed less power, the devices became smaller, mobile, more affordable. Everyone that I knew had a home computer, a digital camera, a flip phone. As time was on, I had my very own Nintendo DSi and was able to take blurry pictures of everything and anyone whenever I wanted. My friends and I would spend hours in front of my dad's laptop to take stupid videos with goofy filters that pitched our voice and warped our faces. At some point, my parents let me run around with their little blue digital camera. When Apple invented the revolutionary touchscreen, my mom let me use her iPod Touch to download free photo editing apps and take pictures. When I finally got my own, I used up the memory so fast it was impressive. Obviously, the quality was abysmal, but that didn't stop me from creating my own Instagram account for photography. I posted diligently, and occasionally my parents would let me bring the camera with me if they knew we were going somewhere it was allowed. Most places didn't care as long as I didn't use flash because I was little and obviously I wasn't exploiting or profiting off of anything. My favorite places to take pictures were the garden centers at any store that had one, places that had animals, whether it was a zoo or a pet store, parks and trails, anywhere with nature really, and urban downtown areas. Obviously, in the past decade, I've gained experience and my tastes have changed, so this is my most recent Instagram account. Shortly before high school, I got my very first phone and my family bought a better quality camera, so I was pretty much able to go anywhere and take a picture of pretty decent quality. I had a friend that shared my love of art and photography, and I would go out with her on these grand excursions around town, taking pictures of each other and doing our makeup all fancy and dressing up. I started experimenting with those apps on my phone and editing them to make them look more painterly, artistic, interesting, colorful. When we didn't have anywhere better to go or anything interesting to take pictures of, we would just take pictures of ourselves. In all that time, I desperately wanted Photoshop, but I could not reasonably afford it. Until I was in high school, I took a photography class that provided it. This photography class absolutely destroyed my self-esteem in regards to photography. The teacher contradicted everything that I liked about my artwork, and it was the first and only class that I've ever almost failed. I had 2 pictures of my face in an art gallery. It was this picture on the right, and a picture my friend, who was modeling for me at the time, snapshotted of me when I wasn't paying attention. 2 pictures of my face in an art gallery, and I was not proud. That class single-handedly sucked all the fun, the joy, the passion, the soul out of my hobby, something that I loved so dearly, and turned it into work, into a chore. Made me dread doing it, and that is not the way that art is supposed to be, or you need to reevaluate. I decided that if I couldn't trust in other people to accurately value and judge my artwork, that I didn't need their validation or their judgment. I was doing this for myself and I alone. If I made something that I was proud of and it wasn't anybody else's cup of tea, that does not mean that it was bad, or that I have poor taste, or that there wasn't someone somewhere out there that thought it was just as lovely as I did. And if somebody did like it, then great. Not everything that you make will be good. You will make garbage, you will fail, and for every piece of garbage that you make, it's in hope that someday there will be a masterpiece, and there will if you persevere and you keep trying. But you can't give up, and you can't let other people get to you. So I'm going to tell you, my process with my photography and my art in particular, and hopefully it's something of value that you can use in your own life. Editing is just as important as the rest of the photography process, and often it will make or break an image. Editing changes the implications, the emotions, and the audience's reception, and it's very powerful, and you can use that to your advantage. The individual subject matter of these photographs, on their own, have nothing in common. What gives them a sense of sameness is the black and white filter that I put over them. Using editing, you can make images relate to each other visually in a way that they wouldn't have before. And in the same way, you can make one image stand out from a crowd. You can take a picture of a mundane, everyday scene and turn it into something visually interesting, like this one here. I just took out some of the distracting details, turned up the saturation, messed with the hue to give it some funky colors, and cropped it, and the two end results are pretty pleasing to me. The one time I have to use particular discretion in my editing is when I'm working with people, faces in particular. You have to be careful not to turn up the saturation too much to make them orange, or to wash them out, or to make their eyes and teeth too bright, or to add something that wasn't there before, because it is startlingly easy to tell when something has changed in a person's face, even if you can't tell exactly what. And it's probably best to avoid that uncanny valley unless you're doing it deliberately. At times when I'm pursuing photography with the intention of manipulating it later and turning it into artwork, I often use abstraction, where I consider the shapes and the colors and the patterns of the original subject matter, and then I emphasize those with editing, and sometimes change the original image completely so it doesn't even resemble the same thing when I'm done. I find this really interesting when looking at other people's artwork because it's fun to wonder, what was this picture of originally? And why did the artist take the picture in the first place? And how have they changed it in a way that makes my interpretation of it different? Some pieces of art are just meant to look cool. They don't have to have a special hidden meaning, and photography is the same way. Right now, it is a time to be alive as an artist and a photographer because our phones keep coming out with new and improved cameras. And if you don't have your gigantic professional camera with you, you can just whip out your phone, take the same picture, and it'll be good enough quality that most people wouldn't notice. These pictures are of melting ice on a river channel, and I just ran them through a color channel mixer to give them the funky colors, and they look pretty awesome if I do say so myself. If I find something interesting to take a picture of, I take like 500 pictures of it. I have been burnt so many times in the past by taking 1 or 2 pictures and then having neither of them turn out. The same thing applies with editing. If you are editing a photograph and you find a variation of it that looks cool, save it before you keep fiddling with it because you're gonna regret it if you don't. With these 3 images, the same exact picture, edited 3 different ways. They each have their own narrative and their own implications, and I value them all equally, so I saved all 3 of them, even though only one is probably ever going to get released. Most people would look at these and think, oh, these are selfies, and you're not entirely wrong, but I am not marketing them in the same way that selfies are typically, and I put a lot more effort into them than most people would. These aren't intended to be attractive. They are intended to be interesting and artistic. I'm not trying to influence anyone with these pictures. If you dress up or you did your makeup nice or you're just feeling yourself, there's no reason you can't take a picture. There's no shame in that. It's fun because you can edit those right away. You don't have to go out and find some special subject matter to take a picture of. You just take a picture of yourself. You can gain a lot of experience that way, especially in taking pictures of other people. This picture was taken immediately after I got done at the grocery store with my mom. I bought myself a smiley face balloon, and while we were packing the car, I took a picture with it. If you didn't know the super amazing context behind that, you'd look at the picture on the right and think, oh, that's pretty cool. And maybe you'd think that there was like an interesting story behind it. But no, the context was pretty lame. But there's nothing wrong with that, and you don't need to disclose that information to anybody. What they don't know won't hurt them. Your personal work and your personal projects do not have to overlap with your professional work. These are not things that I would gather into a portfolio and present to an employer. These are not things that anybody would ever print out and frame on their wall, all right? These are things that I made for my own self-interest because I wanted to experiment with editing or because I wanted to make something quirky and weird, all right? It is okay to make unorthodox photography, and you don't have to market it to other people. And there are people that will like it, and there are people that won't, and that's okay. You are allowed to have your own brand. I will preface this by saying, obviously don't go out if the weather conditions are dangerous, and make sure your camera equipment is protected. But if you are just uncomfortable with going outside, don't let the weather stop you, because sometimes the conditions that you are in your environment can add to your photography. For example, all of these pictures were taken this last winter. I am allergic to the cold, but although it was freezing and it was snowy, and the last picture it was night, all things that might deter most people, I believe that those specific details are what add to the photographs. And if I were to take these pictures at any other time of the year, they wouldn't have had the same value. Okay. I know that this was a long video, so I'm going to wrap this up with some words of advice to you if you are serious about photography or if you're just starting. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you gained something from it that you can use in your artistic endeavors. Have a good one. Thank you for watching.